I'm Jason Klamm, and this is the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. Hey everybody, we've already started recording, it's okay. The year is 1963, the album is It's a Gas, the artist, well, is Mad Magazine, but it's not really Mad Magazine, it was written by an actual human being. But I couldn't find that information online, so that's real helpful. But my guest is Arnie Kogen. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And my other guest is Patric Verrone, who's back. Thank you so much.
Hi, sure. Happy
Now, you are the reason that Arnie's on the show, and the reason you're on the show is I asked you about Mad Magazine because you own every issue of the magazine.
I do have a complete collection of Mad Magazine, yes.
And what is your reason for the completion? We're going to start there because that's an obsessive thing to do, but it's a very that's a comedian thing.
Isn't that reason enough that it's an obsessive thing? No, I mean I read it avidly as a young lad, and then just kept them all because they seemed too precious to throw away.
Yeah.
And then kept collecting going forward, and then some point in my mid-30s I realized, hey, I have enough disposable income to actually go back and get the issues that I didn't previously have. And over the course of about a 10-year period, through a lot of comic book conventions and comic book stores, I managed to get the collection going back to number one. And then I've had a subscription ever since, which I may be among the few left on the planet with such a creature, but and that's how I did it.
Your parents didn't throw them out? That happens all the time.
No.
My parents threw his out.
That would have been interesting. No, we yes, my parents were both good about leaving me alone and leaving me in my nest with my pack rat belongings.
My parents had the same thing. My mom actually introduced me to It's a Gas because she was desperately trying to remember what this thing was called that she'd heard as a kid, because my mother thinks gas jokes are very funny. She's just that kind of person.
Not in that area of the valley now. The methane gas leak.
I know, right? So, I mean, anyway, that is just a conceit of us being here. That is a vinyl-ish thing that has been of Mad. Patric, have you heard it, and what do you think of it?
It's kind of a one-joke piece, as I recall.
Yep.
I in preparation for this podcast, I listened to it again, and then I also found on YouTube the disco version.
Yes,
It's a Gas,
too.
which is it's the same one joke, but has a little bit more resonance to it because they at least made it a disco as opposed to like a postmodern jazz thing, whatever the original was.
Yeah.
But it is impressive to me that even as a collector such as I am, that there's somebody online who's got those albums and has uploaded them for the benefit of the dozens of us who actually care to listen.
It's a gas!
And there's some greater collections, too. Arnie, when did you first hear it? I'm curious.
Well, first let me mention that I write for Mad.
Yes.
I do not have every issue of Mad.
Sure.
I do have every issue of Better Homes and Gardens. I could be the only one, and my mother unfortunately did not throw those out. I have pilfered all of his early Mads, so now I have a collection. It's a Gas was been around, and like you guys, all I really heard in the lyrics, if there are any more, I don't know, are the words "It's a Gas."
Yep, that is it.
It's like, my baby does the hanky panky.
Right.
All I heard was that, and nothing more. So I remember hearing it when there was a database for Mad Magazine when you wanted to check out an old story, see what it was. They played "It's a Gas," and that's how I remember it.
Yeah.
But and it's quite danceable, by the way.
It certainly is.
So,
It's got a bit of a beat to it. So you started writing for Mad Magazine in 1959, correct?
Right.
Okay.
I'm just out of college, yeah.
I was going to say, is it your
First comedy sale ever
That's
of
great.
anything was Mad Magazine.
Wow.
I loved Mad. As soon as I read it, I said, this is fantastic. And I met somebody, a guy named Paul Krasner, who did a magazine called The Realist.
The Realist, sure.
And at NYU, he was older than me, but he had written a thing saying, I write stand-up comic, has written for Mad Magazine. I said, you wrote for Mad? How do you do that? And he told me who to go and who to see. And I brought an article to them, not an article, I brought a story to them. And they said, we can't use it. It's a summer issue thing. If you want, you can go to the competition and try to sell it there. That time there were like 28 competitors of Mad. Think and crazy and nuts and not so. Went to one of them. He said, I want to buy everything you got. I said, I had 17 stories for him. He said, but I can't pay you immediately. I can pay you in 6 months from now. I said, I don't think so. He said, you can turn around and go to Mad if you want. I went back to Mad. I showed Feldstein and the other writers there the stories. And they said, leave with us. 3 days later, there was a check in the mail for $75, 2 pages for the graduation speeches.
That's
issue.
still what they're paying.
Yeah,
That's probably
they raised the rates.
rate. Yeah.
Anyway, I was working for a furniture company at the time. They were paying me $75 a week. Mad sent me $75. I went nuts. It was like very exciting.
Wow.
And I sold 2 other stories quickly after that. And I was on my way, writing for Mad.
Is that how it always was? Was it you work independently, submit it, and then see what happens? Is that how it always
Well, after a while, they would call me and say, hey, Arnie, especially when I started doing satires and spoofs, they say, there's a movie out, The Sting. Would you want to satirize? I said, I'll take a look and see. And usually I would. I would say, I'll do it. And I'd write it, and they'd assign it to an artist, and that would be it.
Wow. Did you write it out? Now we're going to get into the specifics of it.
Yeah.
How was it written out? Was it
My
just
first few stories? I hand wrote everything, including the dialogue balloons, which you don't have to do.
Yeah.
The dialogue balloon. I write the in pencil and pen, and handwrite the balloons and give it to them, and they didn't comment at all. And after a while, I would type it out.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much it. And then computer.
Yeah.
But I'm not a very good typist. When I used to write, I used to use the manual typewriter, and you type very quickly with one finger, and then use the letter A with the other hand, and that was it. In fact, I did an episode for Newhart years later on the innkeeper Newhart. He went to typing class, and it was based on a true story a very funny true story I had in the Valley typing class. And, I didn't improve my typing, but I got an episode out of it.
That's amazing. That sounds familiar, too, because I know I've seen every episode of that show. Let's see. So, actually, I'm curious. So, was it always, how much of Mad had you read beforehand?
I read since issue number 1.
Since issue number 1.
Everything that Patric has and owns, I've read.
Yeah.
Since issue number 1, and through the Kurtzman years, and then when it became a glossy magazine in... Kurtzman, 52, 57, it became a magazine.
Okay.
And a couple of years later, I was writing, for Mad.
That's amazing.
And it was great.
Was it geared toward your age or your mindset? I've always wondered that about
My
Mad.
mindset was always infantile. Still is.
Yeah.
So, I just like to laugh. I love comedy. And this is hysterically funny.
Yeah.
Hysterically funny.
It's also got this, there's this joy about the way the jokes are written that I can't quite pinpoint. Maybe Patrick would have a better perspective on it. it is childish, but it's also really sophisticated at the same time.
Well, and I'm reading the piece. I have it in front of me. It's called Graduation Speeches ... that somebody listened to.
Right.
And the premise of it is there's 5 different pieces. One, Jack Benny, Dick
5
Clark,
different graduations.
right. Steve Allen and Richard Nixon and Fidel Castro. Which, by the way, Fidel Castro is still alive. The fact that you were parodying somebody.
Well, he got very hot this year, I believe.
Well, this was an important year for Fidel Castro. It's true, but the idea that you were doing topical humor about somebody 56 years ago who's still out there, not quite as important as he is now. But
Trump was my other choice here.
Well, that would have been
that was
not as many
way
people
ahead
would
of
have
my
gotten
time.
that. But it goes to what the sort of evergreen references that Mad were. I mean, Mad is and always was a sort of topical and eternal comedic targets were its targets were topical, but it has, you can go back and read, with some exception, the Cosby jokes of yesteryear are not exactly what they are today.
Sure,
but it's still it has a resonance because it's satire, even though it closes on Saturday night, has meaning and it was always, to me, much more intelligent than it was given credit for, and much more sophisticated and
there's some very bright stuff, not mine, but some very bright stuff there. That's very smart, and a lot of writers are not going to write down to the 11-year-old, and very often the Mad audience, the reader, is 11 and a half years old. But I say if they get the joke, fine. If they don't get the joke, too bad.
Yeah,
I'm going to write it anyway. I like it.
Right.
And a lot of people may like it. Some people may like it. That's okay with me.
Well, I feel like there's also the case where eventually they might get it too, because I know there was so much that went over my head, but I also really loved that there was this challenge to read something that I might not totally understand, but I know there's something in there for me.
Right.
But you don't. I mean, you're just writing what's funny, though, right? From your perspective.
Mainly I wanted to write funny, and if something was satirical, if something was topical or something was meaningful, it was less important to me than it was funny.
Yeah,
that was the main thing for me.
Sure, it was great if it worked out to be these other things. Sure.
Right. One of the early pieces I did was maybe the third or fourth piece, The Interpreter, which turned out to be a very politically astute article, and I was not a politically astute young guy. And the premise was that at that time Eisenhower was president, and the interpreter has much more power than you think he has. So he would say something dull and vapid, and they would have different interpreters. Like, if you want to talk tough, get Jimmy Cagney to be your interpreter. And he'd say Eisenhower would say something very bland, and Cagney would make up his own Cagney-ish thing and push grapefruit into Khrushchev's face, and so that would have whole other meaning. And that's basically the premise of that article.
That's fantastic. And what about what year was that? Because
1961, I think.
About 1961,
early 60s.
And so now, I don't know if you've ever seen Key and Peele, but Key and Peele did that exact same gag for their entire series. Obama had an anger interpreter, which was the same gag. It's the same.
No, it is.
Well, they may or may not have seen. It doesn't matter. I understand. Yeah,
but it works. It's the thing. It's an evergreen idea.
Right.
I'm looking at the masthead here, and in addition to you, so you actually, it's just the contributing writers, but Sid Caesar wrote for this issue.
Well, Sid Caesar wrote his article. The writers wrote for the article.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And Bob and Ray.
Bob and Ray's not listed for this one.
Because Tom Cook, who was Bob and Ray's writer, wrote that stuff.
Ernie Kovacs.
Kovacs may or may not have written.
Holy shit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But also the fact Frank Jacobs is here.
Yeah, Frank would preceded me by a couple of years. Yeah.
Al Jaffe
Jaffe's still doing
early 90s.
Al Jaffe's 93, still contributing. And I spoke to Nick John Ficari the other day. Jaffe still walks 14 blocks to deliver his stuff to Mad Magazine.
Oh my God!
He's 93 years old. A fantastic guy.
That's
very
awesome.
Bright, very clever, and a good, tremendous writer. I love him. I like Jaffe.
And artist, writer and artist.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Most of these contributing artists and writers are no longer with us, but names like Don Martin and Wally Wood.
Right.
Is Mort Drucker's still around?
Drucker's still around.
Still
he's
around.
not writing,
He's
but
not
he's still
working.
living.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, but that's one thing at a time.
I think that's the. Oh, was he still living but not writing? One of those combinations.
Yeah, one of the
Yeah.
two. But,
Yeah.
but so, I mean, we're talking about, 55, when Eisenhower was president.
Yeah.
The notion that people are still...
Eisenhower submitted an article. It was turned down.
He
Yeah.
was not known for being funny.
Not the wittiest
particularly
guy.
funny.
Who were your big influences at the time? Because I know you said when we emailed back and forth, you listened to some Spike Jones, but you also had a lot.
Well, we'll get to that in the comedy thing. But
Yeah.
I had to tell you, the early years, I loved Bob Hope movies, not necessarily the Hope Crosby movies. Bob Hope, Monsieur Beaucaire, and Paleface. Just he was a funny guy. I liked Hope. And then, of course, when early television came, I loved Sid Caesar.
Sure.
I liked Burl, but I loved Sid Caesar, and worked with a couple of those writers after years later. And then, as I got older, and a lot of my comedy idols were about my age. Woody Allen is a big. I love Woody Allen.
Yeah.
And Robert and Carlin and Chris Rock. Just, Steve Martin, hysterical.
Yeah.
So Steve Martin in Vegas, and he was incredible. I mean, with the arrow through the head, Steve Martin.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, that's
So-
amazing. That's
Robert Klein is very funny. Seinfeld is very funny.
Sure.
So a lot of people that make me laugh. I enjoy it.
When you so you said you had 17 things in your pocket when you submitted this first one. When you
I submitted for. I just had that one. Then
Okay,
I went to
okay.
this. I went to the competitor, Panic magazine. He said, "I like this. What else you have?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Can you write up some ideas?"
Okay,
I wrote up ideas. He liked every one of my ideas. I started to count the pages and figure the amount.
Yeah,
$25
right.
a page for him, $37.50 for Mad magazine, but he couldn't pay. So
Yeah.
I then submitted it to Mad, and they bought 3 of those articles.
Were you writing a lot before that, or was that not even an issue?
I was not even. No, I didn't write. I was writing for stand-up comics.
Okay.
And I didn't sell to stand-up comics until after I sold to Mad magazine.
Really?
Morty Gunty, Toady Fields, those years, and then after that I started to write for more stand-up. Jackie Vernon, remember him, the low-key guy, and then got involved in television in the East, Candid Camera, and the Les Crane Show. I did Candid Camera twice. You sat in a room and wrote ideas and just gave it to them. They used quite a bit of my stuff.
Wow.
We're not called a writer. You, as the ex-president of Writers Guild, you get
Yes,
involved in
I
this.
appreciate it.
You were
I
not
appreciate
called a
it.
writer. You were
This
called
is-
idea man. You got no residuals, nothing.
It was the early days of reality television that you were experiencing.
So anyway, I did a lot of stuff for them, and then got while I was doing the Les Crane Show, Marty Ingalls, the late Marty Ingalls, who was a strange guy but interesting guy, he said, I may do this movie for Ivan Tors. It's either me or Jerry Lewis or Soupy Sales. I said, okay. And I'll put your name in as a writer. I said, okay. I just wrote sketches. I hadn't even written sketches then. I just wrote one-liners in comics. I got the job as a screenwriter for Ivan Tors, who did Flipper and those kind of shows. And it was a Soupy Sales movie about this janitor that could fly. There was a screenplay written by R. Arthur. I rewrote it, and we got co-credit. I had no idea what I was doing. I just wrote, and it was a dopey movie. Tab Hunter was in it, said it was the worst film he was ever in his life.
Wow.
What was it called?
It was called Birds Do It. Birds Do It. It was
Did
released
it stick to the film? Did it actually?
Unfortunately, it did stick to the film.
Okay.
Yeah. And 65, 66, Columbia. Was down in Florida writing it.
I got to put this on my Netflix queue.
And don't do that. But it was in color. It was in color. And I did things like I said I got a sample screenplay. I looked at it, and it was a finished draft, so it had the shot numbers on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. I didn't know. I wrote the shot numbers down when I wrote my version of the script. Ivan Tors was very nice about it. He said, he got a pencil. He said, you don't need this, Arnie. You don't need this. I said, okay. Anyway, so I got a screenplay credit, and then I did The Tonight Show, which you've done in California,
Yes,
right?
We
I did it in New York and then in California. So I for about 2 years, I did actually 1.5 years. Then they didn't pick up my option once. Went back to California to look for work. John Carsey, Marcy Carsey's husband,
sure.
called me. He was on the show. He said, "You want a gig?" I said, "Yes." He said, "The Tonight Show wants you back." I said, "Great." I went back and I worked for the next 35 years straight on different shows.
Wow.
Variety and sketches and
Yeah.
and sitcoms and so forth. So
Was Hank Bradford the head
Hank
writer?
I worked with Hank, and Hank was the head writer when I went back to the Tonight Show. Yes.
Hank, I have a quick story that I may have talked on my podcast with you, that Hank gave me my first job on The Late Show with Joan Rivers, and it was also the result of something similar to what you had said. This is 1986, and I was using a desktop computer about the size of a Buick. It was this giant IBM computer.
Display writer, by any chance?
No, but
Okay.
it was the daisy wheel printer, and I couldn't turn off the right justification on the one line, 2 line jokes that I had written. So I handed them in, and Hank Bradford called me up and said, "These are the best typed jokes." And he said, "Some of them are kind of funny too." So
That's great. Hank's funny guy.
Hank's
Funny guy.
wonderful, man. Well, I saw him recently. I saw him about a month ago, and he's looking very well. So.
Okay. You have a big beard and
No, he's clean shaven,
clean
top
shaven?
and bottom. So,
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But
Haven't seen him in a while.
Feeling pretty good. He said. But yeah, so typing is clearly important
Apparently.
to the writing profession.
Yeah.
If we're any indication.
That must be what I'm doing wrong. The wrong justification on everything I've ever written.
Yeah.
That-
I cannot correct you. I don't know how that works.
Well, I figured it out since then. I moved up from WordPerfect 2.0 to whatever I'm using now, Microsoft Excelsior or something.
You're handy, aren't you? You're a handy guy.
Well, I have, yes, and I also have teenage children who
Okay,
know enough
I do.
about that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I can't fix anything at all. Everything, I have no idea.
Yeah.
How does a pencil work? I think this got
That I can do. Yeah.
You
that-
sharpen it. I think. Yeah.
So you're starting writing at Mad around the time where pretty much every album that we ever talk about on the
Right.
show got its start. I mean,
Yes,
this is
exactly.
Shelley Berman, this is Bob Newhart.
Right.
What's the stuff that you're listening to at the time? When did you first pick up
preceding
an
that,
album?
I want
Yeah,
to talk about
let's
Spike
go
Jones.
back first. Yeah.
Spike Jones, when I was about 12 years old.
Yeah.
In my personal life, I get hysterical like once a year. I laugh and I cannot control myself for about a half hour. I'm on the floor, pounding the floor. When I heard his version of the William Tell Overture.
Yes. Yeah.
And the old William Lone Ranger theme, and then the gargling. You know the gargling part?
Yes.
When I heard the gargling, I was about 12, 13 years old. I fell on the floor, could not control myself. I don't know whether it was Doodles Weaver who did that or... Anyway, Doodles was my idol. A lot of guys put pictures of Sigourney Weaver up there. I had Doodles Weaver on my bedroom wall for many, many years. Still do. My wife said, "Get that thing down." I said, "No."
At least replace it with
Doodle-
El Pat Weaver.
Yeah.
Charlie Weaver.
Doodles is staying up there, Sue. I'm not getting rid of Doodles. So anyway, Spike Jones was hysterical. Then, as you say, all those albums came in. They're more soul, but Shelley Berman and Nichols and May and Bob Newhart. That's when I first heard Newhart. Mm-hmm. So, incredibly classic stuff.
Yeah.
And, they were startling. It just Newhart especially. And Berman, who I've written for since. I've written for him recently. But Newhart stuff, I've always liked Newhart and wrote for him about 4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm. I wrote both of his TV series. I wrote for him when he replaced Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show. They had guest hosts for a while.
Yes.
Newhart was one of them. And I still see him around. And I meet him at Walgreens. He lives nearby. And usually at the antacid aisle, I meet Bob. By coincidence, we're both there at the same aisle. But he's a great guy. And he's like Jack Benny. He's a reactor when you write for him. He surrounds himself with nutty people.
Yeah.
And he reacts. And, I did a couple of episodes of the Bob Newhart Psychiatrist show called Bob Newhart.
Show.
And then the Newhart show was he had 3 jobs. He was an innkeeper, he was a how-to book writer, and he became a talk show host on that series.
That's right. I forgot about that part.
And so then the part about him being a writer, that's when I had him go to typing school. And basically I went to Woodland Hills in real life, and I started to type with one finger, and the lady said, the instructor, who reminded me of my second-grade teacher, she had me frightened.
No.
I was 42, and she had me very frightened. She said, when you pull your paper out, do not pull your paper out, use your paper release lever. Remember that. Anyway, I made a mistake. Once I pulled my paper out. She said, looked around the room and said, "What is that sound I hear? Did somebody pull their paper out instead of using the paper release lever?" Now I was very frightened, intimidated.
Oh, my God.
And then the next week, before the lesson started, I wrote with one finger, Chapter 8, page 12, just to tell where I was. She came up to my desk, stood in front of me, and said, "Did I see you hunting and pecking?" I said, "I guess so." I was really frightened. So the whole episode was based on Bob going back to try to... And the teacher that he had in night school for typing was the teacher he had in Ohio when he grew up. So he wanted to prove to this guy that he was a much better guy because the guy hated him when he was 8. He wanted to show I'm successful now and I can do stuff, and he was a screw-up in the typing class. That's what that episode was all about.
That's actually one thing I've always loved about any material that's ever been written for Bob Newhart is that when they expand on, everybody talks about his deadpan, his skills at being deadpan, but also like if you watch his act, that man can fake laugh like nobody's business. The acting that it involves just to pretend you're hearing somebody on the other end of the line.
Yeah.
So giving him something to milk like that, and especially something that childish, which is so regressive.
Yeah.
Like to write that for an adult, I just think that's some of my favorite stuff. That's
He was great to write for.
So that begs a question for me.
Yeah.
Did you or did anyone do the Mad parody of either of the Newhart shows?
I did.
You did? Okay. So was that an out-of-body experience? An out-of-typewriter experience?
In fact, I may have done it before I started doing the show.
Oh, okay.
Not so Newhart, I called it. Not so...
Okay.
So I did that, yes. Yeah.
Was that the only time you had that experience of writing something that you had also worked on?
Let me see. I got to confess that I did Empty Nest. And
Okay.
I under a different name.
Oh, really? So there's more than 200...
There's another name I've used. I used a couple. One of them when I did the Woody Allen Hannah and Her Sisters,
Sure.
which I loved. I did that. I combined two of my agents' names. Debbie Klein, and Mike Ovitz. Debbie Ovitz was the name of the writer for that episode. There were two stories of Mad written by Debbie Ovitz. That was one of them. I was so intimidated by Woody Allen that I didn't want to put my name on anything satirizing one of his movies.
Holy cow!
And I loved the way it came out. And Mort Drucker did an incredible job drawing, especially the opening panel of Hannah and Her Sisters. It was Woody Allen and all those, and Max von Sydow and
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine, he did a great job with that.
It always impressed me, and we're talking about writing and not artists, but Mort Drucker and Angelo Torres both had the ability to draw. It was easier for Torres because he was working off television that existed, but Mad parodies of movies would come out sometimes around the same time that the movie came out. They had.
I doubt it. Usually it's 4 or 5 months later.
But in my experience, maybe it's when I finally saw them. But it just seemed like he had to have drawn them before they came out, didn't he? With the publication
I don't know they may have been stills of the movie from the PR people and the publicity departments who were sometimes reluctant to give stuff to Mad Magazine.
Sure.
But then when Mad was owned by Time Warner, they would get Warner stuff earlier.
Sure.
So if something came out close to the release date, it was unusual. Usually I'd write an article and then I said, 4 or 5 months later would come out. So if you really couldn't have anything very topical in it. But, Drucker, Angelo Torres is good. Drucker was incredible. So was Wally Wood and those early people.
Sure.
And Jack Davis.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the other thing, too, is like just to talk about the art. I'm just looking through it. It's one of the skill that somebody like Drucker has where some people might, if you're not paying close attention, could dismiss it easily as he's a caricaturist. No, he's not just a character. There's just
you see the expressions
to it. Exactly.
The expression. He did
Yeah.
classic expressions of characters, and he was fantastic.
I mean, because I had to reread over the Zing a couple times just to look through it, and it reminded me of a lot of stuff I'd forgotten about the Sting. I mean, that's how
Sting was
dead
really good
on
movie.
it is.
Really good movie.
Brilliant, yeah.
Really brilliantly thought out.
What were you?
As opposed to Birds Do It.
Right.
The scenes did not gel. How to compare the Sting to Birds Do It.
Well, in fact, I mean, as a kid, most movies, certainly the R-rated and even the PG movies, I first learned of them from Mad, the Mad parody.
That's true.
I knew China Clown before I knew China
right.
And both Oddfather Parts 1 and 2.
Larry Siegel, yes.
Right. So, I mean, TV was the exception, because at least I knew what Claude Dumbo was parodying.
Yes. Some titles were quite good on Mad's part. Some were not that good. Some story titles. But, the best title was a guy, 5 Easy Pieces. His parody thing was 5 Easy Pages.
There you go.
So
Perfect.
Self-referential.
That's so good. So when did you what was your first thing you sold to a comedian? to a stand-up? Do you remember?
Morty Gunty, stand-up comic from Catskills in Brooklyn. I sold him stuff, and then word got around. I worked for other comics, and then started writing for Toady Fields, Steve Lawrence, and Edie Gourmet back east. Jackie Vernon was classically funny. He paid very slowly, but he's very funny. One of the great he had that. Remember, he had that slide routine.
Yes, of course.
But recently at a holiday, I remember he had that New Year's Eve line. He said, he's just. Are you familiar with
Only
Jackie?
Only a little.
Okay, chubby guy, dull, monotone speaking. He's
very,
like
very matter of fact.
Stephen Wright,
Like
but
Stephen Wright,
chubbier,
yes.
bigger,
Okay.
wider. Stephen Wright.
But would wear a suit and thin tie.
but he's very
and
dull,
very
dull looking.
low-key, yeah.
And he said he's a dull guy. He's once arrested Times Square New Year's Eve for loitering.
Now wait, he's the voice of
He could be the voice of a
Frosty. No, he's in one of the Christmas. I think he's Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah, it could be.
That's-
He said passed away, I think.
Oh, wow, some time
yeah.
ago. Yeah, no, premature.
I think you're looking up Frosty the Snowman.
I'll look
looking
him
up dead
first,
people.
yeah.
Under dead people.
there was some rumor in my family that he was related to us, that he had changed his name from
really?
Verrone
to Vernon. Oh, well,
Interesting.
Yeah, but I never.
Born Ralph Verrone.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, well, see, all it took was checking your phone to
really?
find out that. So
Yep.
I'm
Really?
So my cousin Ralph. You mean when you talk about Jackie
Yeah,
Vernon.
exactly right. Your cousin
Oh.
Ralph.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad we only said nice things.
There was a
about
rumor in my family that we were related through marriage to John Garfield, the actor.
it. Of course, right.
So that may or may not be true. Don't know.
Well, should we just... there's a rumor that I might be related to Lucille Ball. So there we go. So we've got those three taken.
Yes.
We've
The
got
rumors
those.
all out there.
Did you... See, that's the interesting thing, too, is having to write... It's one thing having to write a parody or to write satire, but then to... You have to... Are you not accessing the same part of your brain when you're writing somebody else's material? When you have
Writing
to
for a
know
comic, you mean?
Yeah, you have to know their...
Well, you have to know their style.
Yeah,
Their different
so-
style. You have to know how they work and what the rhythm is, and that's not difficult. I don't think.
No.
Vernon's easy. Jackie Vernon is a very low key guy.
Sure.
And, I did a thing for him once. Is that occupation I like? He said, "I'm not being a comedian is not my only job. I've got another job. I'm a shepherd." It was just that.
That's it.
Because I've done a lot of shepherd humor in my time. I did it for Candid Camera. I placed an ad in the New York Times, Situations Wanted column, when I was in college. Amidst accountant and statistician and secretary, shepherd, to tend flock. Handy.
Anybody
Will
call?
not cry wolf. Dewey 91089. Anyway, the Times called the next day. It said,
Okay.
Kogen, Mr. Kogen, yeah, you can't place this. Why not? You have to name something specific. I said, well, shepherd to 10 flock, that's specific. They said, okay, that's okay, but what is this will not cry wolf? I said, oh, that's just a term used in the trade. Meaning you'll do a good job, won't kid around. They said, okay, we'll place it. They placed it. So, I placed it. That evening, I get a phone call. You're the guy who put the ad for the shepherd? Yeah. I got a farm in New Jersey. I need somebody. And then suddenly got fright, panic. Oh, I can't do it. I hurt my leg. I'm injured. It was a friend of mine putting me on. I had no idea, but I got very, very frightened that it might have worked.
Do you have a copy of that? Did you keep that? Because
I do have a copy
Oh
of
my
that.
God.
I've got a home in the desert I have there, and I must have it there someplace. I'll give it to you later. I'll check
Okay,
around.
yeah, no, I'm just
I'll
curious.
Check around. That's classic.
That's
as I mentioned
fantastic.
to you earlier, I love doing subtle stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I once had invitations to Grace Kelly's wedding, where she married Prince Rainier in Monaco in 1963, 56, whatever. I forgot the year. Anyway, it said Mr. and Mrs. Kelly. I sent out 100 invitations. Mr. and Mrs. Kelly of Philadelphia announced the marriage of their daughter Grace to Prince Rainier of Monaco, April 9th, 1956. So-and-so will or will not attend. Tissue paper, response cards, sent it to 100 people. 96 people were hysterical. Some people, a friend of mine in the Army, received it, recognized my handwriting, pretended that they really got it, made front page Stars and Stripes, the Army newspaper. Soldier invited to the wedding of Grace Kelly, Prince Rainier. And he said his whole story. He said, I never know both Prince Rainier and Grace Kelly. Grace is a natural kid. Never thought she'd marry the prince because she worshipped athletes. I've been to that area of the world before. I'm going to Hong Kong instead. He went to Hong Kong. The mayor of the city gave him the key to Hong Kong. The soldier turned down the wedding, made the news in the Mirror. And, so it's a lot of stuff for that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff I like to do.
The days when you couldn't double check anything.
Well, he would have been thrown out had he gone to the wedding.
Sure.
First of all, I
That's
think it was
also
in
true.
French. Oh, here's the key to that whole story. I worked for my father at the time, West 19th Street in New York, between 5th and 6th. He had a children's wear manufacturing. By the way, he fired me twice because I sang too loud. We didn't get along. But I brought this whole thing to the printer across the street, to the stationer across the street on West 19th. Mm-hmm. He sent it to a printer on Houston Street. And the printer on House Street called him and said, "They gave you this job? Like, how did Grace Kelly come to West 19th? Couldn't believe it. How did you get this?"
Oh my God!
That was part of that.
You know, this is just reminding me. There's an episode of The Simpsons where Bart is in New York City and goes to visit.
Oh yes, Mad
Magazine. This just like it's true. It's true. You people are that way.
Yeah,
You're just
and it was
crazy.
a very dull place, right? It was right. There was a secretary. Jay talks about it. My son Jay. And then they get coffee because when he went up there, he expected it to be dazzling. There's Mardi Gras, just normal people.
It's a business. It's a place of business.
Yeah, it's a business, but just very funny. Yes.
That is beautiful. So you were listening. Okay, so around this time, you, like everybody else, are listening to Berman, to Bob Newhart. As a comedy person, as a comedy writer, you're picking up their patterns, their rhythms, and things like that.
Especially if you have to write for them. Yes.
Exactly. Are there any of them that you think bled through to what you wrote for Mad Magazine? Is there anybody who might have changed how you looked at comedy at the time? Or
I don't remember that. I mean, I loved them, most of them.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Newhart in his own way, Shelley Berman's own way, Mort Saul earlier, but didn't change my rhythm of writing for Mad Magazine.
No.
Of course, there was a couple of years break, and then the Sherman thing hit, Hello Mother, Hello the Father,
Sure.
And then The First Family, which exploded on the record charts. And the First Family story is Earl Dowd, created the First Family, and Earl Dowd used to write for Mad Magazine also.
Okay,
he did some stories for Mad. So that year there was a Christmas party every year at Mad, and this was 1962, I believe. And so that year, the Christmas party, First Family hit, exploded about 2-3 months before. Earl Dowd comes to the Christmas party wearing a fur coat, it was successful, and actress Julie Newmar on his arm.
Oh my God!
So that was his entrance. So I had Sue Kogen and I had denim shirt. But that was what I remember from that Christmas party. Earl Dowd traipsed in and
And then later you worked with him on.
One of the other sequels, First Family Rides Again. I think.
Oh, really?
I believe I have a credit on that. I forgot what I wrote.
Why didn't I bring that with me?
I got it.
I should have. I'd have you sign it if I brought it with me.
Yeah.
Wow. See, that's.
And I remember very little of that, except for chasing Earl trying to get some money. He was a little slow, but colorful, interesting, funny guy. But didn't pay very quickly.
Sure. No, I've also heard that because I've known a couple other people who work for Earl Dowd too. Boy. Okay. So. We've answered all of the basic questions I already have, so that's all.
Try the unbasic question.
The unbasic question. That's probably a very good idea. Do you have a favorite comedy album of all time, or from that period?
Favorite comedy album of all time?
Because your influences and your loves are as varied as I
maybe
hoped.
The Button Down Man, Bob Newhart.
Yeah,
could be. There's tough. I mean, Nichols and May stuff is very funny.
Yeah,
the Shelley Berman stuff very funny. I cannot pinpoint a favorite comedy album of all time.
Right.
Oh, 2,000-Year-Old Man.
Sure. Yeah.
Or 2001. Both hysterical.
Brilliant.
Both hysterically funny. Line after line, premise. This guy met all these characters through history, and he dated Joan of Arc. And he sold every invention. He has 8,002 grandchildren. None of them visit him on a Sunday, not one. Great lines.
Yeah,
great lines.
Is there when you're breaking down your favorite stuff? Is there a particular type of comedy that you like more, or is it just strictly what's funny? Because some
basically
people can
what's
be snobby.
funny, but some if it's clever and smart, I like it.
Yeah.
More than if it's just slapstick. As funny as Spike Jones was, I appreciated the verbal stuff of these stand-up comics more. Although I gotta say, you give me a good Spike Jones record, I'm there. It's great.
Patric, I was just since you've read them all, Is there something you've
I
ever?
can't say that I've read
Okay, but
them
you
all.
have them all.
Yeah, I have them all.
You have them
and
all.
by osmosis.
By osmosis.
He hasn't read a single. He's planning on reading them all tonight.
Oh, tonight.
He bought them all.
Well, get back to me after that. But is there anything you've ever wanted to know about the history of Mad?
Well, I mean, I asked the
did ask a
question
lot,
I
yeah.
cared about, which was what access did you have to the movies, particularly before they came out? It sounds like
the access to the movie at that time, before the internet, you had to see the movie, and then maybe read a review in Time magazine to see what I'd say what I'm sitting in the darkened theater for 2 hours, making notes, scribbling notes that I don't understand when I come home. Say I'd seen one, and especially if it's a 2-hour movie, you said, "What the hell? What happens next?" I have to get a review. I got to check it out, and there was no internet then. I have to do everything I can to see what the plot was.
Yeah.
To say, okay, here's what the ending is. Here's what I can base it on.
Yeah.
I'd have to do a lot of research. Now it's much easier. You got
Sure.
Yeah, so.
And Mad was put together. I mean, the usual Gang of Idiots was spread across the nation for the most part. Was I mean, you were out here,
and across the world.
Interesting.
Oh, were there?
I didn't know that.
International. I have a German version of what was the movie? I forgot the movie. Anyway, there's German stuff and there's Holland stuff and.
But my point is that this, again, because this was before the internet. I mean, you had telephones and
yes,
but in the early days you didn't have fax machines. I mean, how did you
get it to them?
Yeah,
I mailed it to them. Took 2-3 days.
So it's an arduous,
very slow process. I remember going to the post office with celebrities' wallets. I forgot whose wallet. I used to do a thing called celebrity wallets. You may remember?
Yes, you did about 20 of them.
Bobby Darin was the first one. It was very funny.
Right.
And just send it. You'd mail it. A thing called mail, ladies and gentlemen.
But in terms of collaboration with the artists,
Never.
It just didn't happen.
No, we didn't have. No, you give it to the editor. They would take it. They'd fool with it a little bit, and they'd send it to the artist.
Wow.
So I didn't collaborate with the artist. I had no idea who was doing the art till I read the article.
Wow.
So it would come out 4 months later.
Yeah, then I'd say, "Oh, Drucker did this. Great." I would not know who did it.
Did it matter? Was anything precious? Like, it doesn't seem like it could be if you're still writing a parody of something that you love. Like you said, you wrote something about Hannah and her sisters, and you love Woody Allen. So
yeah. What's the question?
Well, how do you do something? You just can't be
do
precious about it,
how
right?
do you parody something you like, that you really care?
Yeah, I mean, I know that it's
tougher,
easy for me. But
it's easier to do something if you hate it.
Yeah.
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 But still, in all, there's ways of doing it if you like the film. I like The Sting very much.
Sure. Yeah.
And I did that, so you can still do both. You do both.
Yeah.
And were there things that you couldn't do? Were there things that got...
Certain types of movies I would say no to. I don't know what if the film was really dull or long, or some films I said no to, and some TV shows. A lot of TV shows I said no to.
I mean, the fact that what is it, quarterly now? It comes out...
Now it's should be
6 times a year? Is it every other month?
Maybe 6 or 8 times a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
it used to be a month. I think it was monthly. Well, usually used to be 8 times a year.
It
when
was
I
8
started.
times a year,
Yeah.
right. Then it became monthly when Time Warner owned it, and now...
And then, I dropped back.
If it's not quarterly, it's maybe 5 or 6 times a year. But the point is, you just have fewer opportunities to do.
Yeah.
So like you did the Mad Men parody, must have been like in season 4, season 5.
Yes,
It took a little bit longer to...
Well, they want to make sure that it's popular. I've done movies that were not popular at all, and you say it came out 4 months later, said nobody's watching this at all.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Like movies that nobody's seen at all.
And were there any memorable jokes or things that you put in that just didn't fly?
A lot of them. A lot of them. I know. I don't know if they were memorable jokes. There were a lot of jokes I loved that didn't fly. And they would sometimes change the wording a little bit. Mm-hmm. And they'd send me a copy, and I'd change it back, and they'd say no. So it would change a little bit. It wouldn't change a lot. It's not like rewritten like a sitcom.
I was going to say, as compared to working in the most collaborative medium.
No, they change much less. It's much closer to what you've originally written. But there are changes, depending on the editor, depending on their style, and so forth. Feldstein didn't change as much as the current guy, Ficarra. Al did not. He pretty much let, his problem with me is I wrote too much. I wrote too many text for the balloons. They didn't want the balloons to be too thick.
Okay.
Well,
My balloons were thick, ladies and gentlemen.
Were they? Man with thick balloons.
Yeah.
Get that
They want to
looked
work it, fit it in.
Well, that's the other impressive thing about Mad, just historically, is that the layout and the ability to get that much content.
They do. They have a lot of people doing a very good job with layout. They lay it out and they work it out so that it's yeah.
It's about the only. I mean, comic books don't do this. I mean, just the line drawn to the It's hard to express this on a radio type show,
right?
But there's one balloon which is attached to another balloon with a line that comes.
Some
down.
require a lot of work.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of work very often.
I was impressed by that too, but it's also remarkably easy to read regardless of that complex layout.
And nobody else does that. I
right.
mean, it's not, comic books tend not to do that. They'll just do another panel.
Yeah.
And there was a much more. And the one thing I was very proud of myself when I was about 15 that I came to the conclusion that every single line in Mad Magazine in the parodies ends in an exclamation point.
Interesting. I put them in, and some guys don't, and they do that. They do that.
With the exception of, I'm just looking at here the parody of Fool of the Nile. Fool of the Nile. There's a couple of question marks and there's a couple of ellipses.
Yeah, and my grammar, my punctuation is awful. So I don't know where.
Well, that's where the editor comes in.
Actually, that was going to be another question I had too. There's a lot of bolding. There's a lot of choice bolding in it.
Yeah,
I was curious.
I underline, I bold quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I do. Probably too much.
No, it's fine.
Much.
I think that, and along with the exclamation points, there is this kind of energy to reading it that is different from any.
My
other.
wife, before she married me, said, I love you, Arnie, but do you underline and bold too much? I said, well, maybe I do. I don't know.
So the other one that I have here on the top is the Golden Girls parody, which you wrote with your son Jay,
right?
Who himself an Emmy-winning.
More than me. I have 3. He has 4.
Oh, he has. Well, okay,
Yeah,
but who's counting?
I'm counting.
All right. Well, in fact, as I recall, one of his Emmys, he announced his mother's phone number on the air.
Yeah, he won the Emmy for the Frasier that year. He beat out. Who's the guy who wrote the Social Network? I forgot it.
Oh, Aaron Sorkin?
I bet Sorkin, who did a series on it at the time. Anyway, how did I forget Sorkin's name?
Yeah.
Anyway, and he said, thank my dad, Arnie Kogen, and my mom, for all your real estate needs in the Valley and the West Side, call my mother Sue Kogen, and he left her phone name. He gave her phone number.
He gave the full number.
Yeah.
And then I guess it went live to the East Coast, but to the West Coast it was bleep.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's true. Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's a devoted son.
Yes,
you trained him well. But that's my question. I mean, I've worked with Jay, and he's obviously inherited quite a bit from you. But what do you think? Oh, I brought this up because you wrote one piece.
The Golden, and that was 1.5 pieces. We did a piece. It was a thing about comedy posters, comedy bumper stickers. And he contributed. He was like 11, 14 years old, and he contributed some of those also.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah, he did some of those too. Yes.
So what's that like working with your son?
I love it. As a matter of fact, it turns out when I did Frasier, I went in to pitch to him. And
did he hire you?
And so I sell some stories. I thought I had some very good ideas. He said I like them. He had to bring it to some other people. I didn't get it, but it's great. Just pitching to my son, hoping he'll buy something. I love that.
That's awesome.
He was the funniest 11-year-old kid I've ever seen in my life. Jay was hysterical.
I bet. And I will say, The Wrong Man is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
That's great. I love that. How do you know that?
I love that.
How do you know that?
I saw it years ago, and then a couple years ago, he did a thing at Cinefamily where he interviewed the other people involved with the movie on stage, and it was brilliant.
It's a very funny
underrated
film.
movie. Very underrated
funny film.
I mean, it's no Birds Do It, but it's
we know that. Yes.
So I was actually going to ask you about, because we talked about this earlier, and it does not come up on Wikipedia, so obviously I'm not going to find it. Luckily, you told me about it. LBJ and the Catskills. Was that also an Earl Dowd? Because I didn't know.
Just me and a guy named Paul Lakin. Basically, LBJ, when he was president, went to the Catskill Mountains for a weekend. And with his family. And somebody said, a comedy album guy said, jump on this, let's do it. And myself and Paul Lakin spent 2 days in Queens in his house. We wrote this comedy album, and it was quickly done. Fannie Flagg played LBJ's wife.
Really? Okay.
And Jack DeLeon, I don't know if you know, stand-up comic Jack DeLeon, did LBJ, very good LBJ, and it was LBJ and the Catskills, and they had a dining room scene and press conference in the dining room. It was pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Was it recorded in studio? It wasn't a live thing like First Family?
It was live.
It was live. Okay.
It was recorded with a live audience.
Oh, okay.
Live audience.
Oh, that's great. I need to pick that up because it's there was this period of time, of course, where if you didn't necessarily have an act, but you had a good idea, if you had the person with them, there were so many LBJ. I own about 10 different Nixon parody albums.
Really?
Just because they're not good, most of them. There are one or two that are really solid.
Yeah.
But, like, everybody was doing these political albums. What was the energy to writing something like this at the time when, like,
we were very excited. We say, hey, it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
And we had all these... And he was a very good typist, Paul Lakin, in addition to being very funny. So we knocked it out in a weekend and got on. And Carson, I was doing the Tonight Show in New York at the time. He promoted it. He was nice enough to promote it while I was one of the writers on the show. He said, I got to have his album here. And so it didn't go through the roof, but did okay.
Yeah.
This was also an era when there were David Fry and the guys who were doing a lot of politically oriented humor. Certainly before Saturday Night Live, before you had the quantity of on-air political. You didn't have the Daily Show. I mean,
no, it's true. Yes, you didn't have that at all.
So that was probably, with the exception of Paul Krasner, the one way that you could get political humor out into the mainstream was through that kind of album.
Yeah.
And also hold on to it. And I mean, the one thing that I frankly would love to bring back is the idea of the party album, or at least a party involving the listening of. I mean, I'm the person, I guess, who would have to put those together.
Yes,
but
it's up to you.
Yeah, it is up to me. But were there any? Did you ever attend any things like this where you were just, we're here to listen to an album? I'm curious because nobody ever talks about this.
Did I ever go to a listen to a comedy album?
Yeah. Or do it at your own house, or have it on the background. I'm just curious because this is a period that
I don't think I have. No.
Okay.
It's funny because there's those. My wife has a few Red Fox albums, which are really raw. I mean, even by today's standards.
Really, even by today's standards?
No, they're.
Because I can't think of anything being rawer than today's standards.
Well, Red Fox could.
Okay.
So, but anyway, but they're called party albums on the and it's basically
Mom's Mabley had some, maybe.
Yep. Mom's Mabley, Pigmeat Markham. But the Red Fox are called party albums because I think they were meant to be played. I'm shocked that they would be played in mixed company.
Right.
And whatever kind of party it was where Red Fox would talk about the things he talked about.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that the police were not
right.
Were not aware of where you were.
They should have been called "Your Kids Can Hear These Through the Walls." Don't you know that? Because that's the kind of stuff I always hear people talk about. Yeah, my parents would listen to this, but I wasn't allowed to listen to it. But I was exposed. That's the kind of stuff that.
No, that's what my wife's always saying about the Richard Pryor albums.
Yeah.
That her.
But it's imagine you talk about the
police.
police. You talk about driving along on Wilshire, and the cops pull you over. Excuse me, you just threw at a party album. Pull over.
Yeah.
I mean.
It also reminds me, the line, Lenny Bruce was performing the night Kennedy was assassinated.
Yes.
You know this story?
Yes. I don't know
November
this story.
22nd, 1963. Lenny Bruce is scheduled to perform. He decides to perform. He goes out. The audience is, breathlessly waiting. The first thing he's going to say, he just kind of shakes his head, and he says, "Poor Vaughn Meter."
Oh, the first thing you said? Wow, that's great.
He wasn't
That's
wrong.
great.
Was not wrong.
Well, that's great.
That's another thing too. Is like we were talking about this before we started recording, but Vaughn Meter did try, not with Kennedy, but tried to revive it. He had another album that was just a general comedy album, which I haven't listened to. But then he did another one in the vein of First Family, but it was about Jesus coming back as a hippie, and I want to listen to it, but his story is a little sad, but it's still
funny. If Jackie Kennedy had the same line in Texas in the car, or Vaughn Meter.
Did you? Now this occurs to me. I mean, it's a visual medium, but did you ever? Was there any kind of comedian that got pulled apart by Mad Magazine that I might not be thinking of at the time?
Oh, there probably was. I didn't pull him apart. I did one similar to the one you talked about, where the different comedians doing. A certain subject, but comedians They probably have been pulled apart by Matt. I can't think specifically of which ones.
Because there's this one. This is
Yeah,
the
I
one I
think
showed
they have.
you earlier.
Yeah, they have years recently, last 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because they're more. It's just more of a. I don't know.
They took comedians, they pulled apart their acts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is specifically, I was showing him this earlier. It does not have a writer credited, but it is 6 different comedians of the time telling the same joke, essentially. And just the thing about this is they've nailed the rhythms and the style. But I mean, but that's what you did professionally also, having to just, you have to have an ear for that kind of thing. You said it's not difficult, but I think it's because it's not difficult for you.
Well, you got to, Newhart works very differently than Bob Hope. Different rhythm.
Sure.
Yeah.
But just being able to identify that and then also put your own voice into it is
right.
Right. That's complex. So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. But again, no art writers credited in this.
Yeah, should.
When did that change? When did they decide?
Well, when that came out, there was a writer credit. It's just not in that paperback issue.
Oh,
that changed around. When I started writing in 59, it was not there. I'm thinking around 63 or 64. Okay. They actually had the writers' names on the article.
And was that the result of somebody complaining?
I don't know what
happened.
I don't know why it came about, but it did. I'm glad it did.
Sure. No.
Yeah.
So I keep referring to this website, and I can't remember the guy's name, but the website that has the index of
database
who wrote
of all the writers and artists.
Yeah. Right. How does he know who wrote it?
He's kept track all the years.
But I mean, for the ones that weren't credited, somebody had to reveal who. I mean, is there another source that?
No, that's the editors revealed it.
Okay, so he must have just gone through. Because you referred earlier to some. You could go at the Mad offices and they had indexes.
But you can go to the internet. They have every single.
I know they do now. But I'm saying at the time.
Oh, the time
for him to put this together.
He may have been keeping track since issue number 1. I don't know how that worked. He may be in his room writing down.
Well, no, it sounds like he's a guy that doesn't get out much.
Yeah.
And what's his name?
I'm trying to find it desperately. I had it up and now it's disappeared.
It's like the Mad cover.
I think it's the Mad Cover Archive. If I'm not mistaken.
I should know his name. We've done documentaries with him. I forgot his name.
Oh, okay.
But I mean that's a way too. If you want to look up at least find the stuff that Arnie's written, and you don't know better, then go on the website. If you don't know
the stuff that he's written and put his name on.
Yes.
Well, it says in there, I believe.
Yeah.
Asterisk, Arnie Kogen asterisk. There are rumors that he's also written a lot of other articles under another name. It says that, I believe.
madcoversite.com. So if you go there, it was very helpful for me earlier looking through the different stuff that you'd written.
We were talking earlier. I mentioned the funniest Mad article ever was written by the guy that used to write for Bob and Ray, Tom Cook, spelled Koch, and he wrote a thing called 83 Man Squamish. He created. Do you remember that? He created a game, a combination of soccer and rugby and frisbee, and with names and positions and rules and regulations. It's hysterical. It's one of those things that had me on the floor, falling on the floor, hysterical.
An entire fake sport just for that's fantastic. Okay, so I don't want to keep you any further. So I feel like, first of all, people should I just want to remind people, go read Mad Magazine. It was so pleasant just to pick this one back up.
Anything in the works? Anything coming out?
Oh yeah, thank you.
I haven't written since Ray Donovan. No.
No, that's.
If I call them and say I want to do something, they'll say, "Okay, do it." But I haven't called them, and I'm not that anxious to work that much anymore. But if something really strikes me, said there's an article here, I'll do it.
I mean, again, if you want to see any of Arnie's work, we've got both the Newhart shows. What's other stuff that people can go back and watch?
Well,
you can
the
listen
Newhart,
to
the Carol Burnett show, 4 years of Carol Burnett,
yeah.
And there's a Time Life series. Although the Time Life series now is about the first 5 years. I did it from years 6 to 10.
Okay.
But they had a panel of writers. I was one of the writers. Buzz Cohan, Kenny Soames, and Gail Parent were also part of that group. And first 5 years were hysterical, and they just didn't rerun them that much.
Yeah.
So Carol Burnett, I did Dean Martin, I did Mary Tyler Moore sitcom, but I also did the Mary Tyler Moore variety show. You're not going to see that anywhere.
No.
You know who was on it? Remember that show?
Steve Martin.
No, no. David Letterman, Michael Keaton.
Was on, right.
David Letterman, Michael
Right.
Mary Tyler Moore, Swoozie Kurtz, brilliant cast.
Wow.
Dick Shawn.
Okay.
And Mary was not comfortable doing that. Passion and Tarsus were the producers. I was the head writer. good staff, good cast, and Mary was not happy doing it, and different kind of a show for her.
Yo, I bet.
Huh?
Yeah,
variety. She didn't want to. They had her singing "Dead Skunk in the Middle of the Road." She wasn't happy doing that. I brought up a thing called the Ed Asner Dancers. We had 6 guys in suits and ties and shirts, just dancing, doing disco dance. And if you get a chance to catch the opening pilot, it has Michael Keaton and David Letterman singing and dancing. David was not happy singing and dancing. Letterman, so you can see him. I think he's singing Macho Man or one of those songs.
Oh, my God.
So that was a show I did. Then I started getting involved at Newhart and MTNS. And I did the Sinbad show, Margaret Cho show towards the end of my sitcom stuff. A whole bunch of different shows. I did Love American Style and Love Boat and a zillion shows. Jim Neighbors,
Oh, yeah. I think I saw that there, too. So, first of all, again, everybody go read some Mad Magazine. Pick up an old Mad Magazine. They're easy. I've got.
They're not hard to come by.
They're not.
It's true. Getting every one of them is hard,
maybe
but getting any one of them is easy.
Listen, you can listen to I think every Mad song, goofy song that's ever been put together on YouTube. Although you can buy it on vinyl, and maybe we'll do the actual vinyl compilation at some point on the show. But go watch stuff that Arnie's put together because it's good. It's all funny stuff. And thank you guys for listening. Patrick, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Patrick. Good seeing you.
Arnie, thank you so much for letting us do this.
Thank you. It's fun.
And to the audience, as always, have a good thing. Vinyl is a production of Stolen Dress Entertainment. It is produced by Mike Warden and is hosted and edited by Jason Klamm. Our theme song was composed and performed by Richard Levinson. Please visit stolendress.com to listen to our other podcasts, read our blogs, read our tweets, watch our videos, and read our books. Please subscribe on iTunes, and if you like us, give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. You can find us on facebook.com/comedyonvinyl, Twitter @comedyonvinyl, and find everything else at comedyonvinyl.com.